Coming up, WWE Crisis talks after their lowest rating ever, SummerSlam plans in jeopardy, and so much more. So super kick the old subscribe button to make sure you never miss a WrestleTalk news episode.
Support WrestleTalk!
So you may have already heard that Monday's edition of WWE Raw drew an average of 1.472 million viewers, which is the lowest in the show's history, which even when you factor in the hockey match on the same night is not a good look for the program. I guess you reap what you sow. And with WWE set to go back on the road soon and their self-proclaimed big show for the year, SummerSlam, just around the corner, dwindling interest is not something you want ahead of your supposed return to form. It's also not something the channels want, as we've already seen SmackDown making changes like moving Roman Reigns versus Rey Mysterio from the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, reportedly at the behest of Fox, who wanted those views all to themselves. And now Andrew Zarian of the Mat Men podcast is reporting that Stephanie McMahon is set to meet one of the channels to discuss content pitches, potentially to fix these issues because they desperately need fixing. He said, "I don't know which network it was, but somebody told me that Steph has a meeting with one of the networks at the end of the month for pitched ideas from the network. I don't know if this is a common thing that they do or if this is a regular thing, but I know that the networks are pitching ideas." Now, we've heard before that networks have previously been involved in some of the ideas seen on WWE TV, reportedly having their hand in the 24/7 title and the Raw Dark segments. Big hitters all round. Now, new reports have emerged recently stating that networks are taking more of a vested interest in WWE's output and its content, with the E planning to have more special episodes like Old School SmackDown in order to appease them. On the table was reportedly the return of King of the Ring, an Old School Raw, and some weird point system where points were doled out for hitting certain moves or doing certain stuff. It remains to be seen what becomes of this meeting and how much creative control WWE are going to concede to the channels in this instance. But as these deals are still huge money earners for the company, keeping them happy is definitely a major priority. So expect Raw Darker segments to hit our screens before the end of the year. Why does not one person in TV have any good ideas? And with SummerSlam set to be this year's big, huge, live WrestleMania-style show for WWE, we've all been hearing the rumours that they will be bringing out the big guns to make the show special. We're talking John Cena. We're talking Brock Lesnar. We're talking these two things might not happen, because some new details have come to light regarding both men. We'll start with Brock Lesnar, who is seemingly the hardest slab of ham for WWE to pin down. On that latest edition of the Mat Men podcast, Andrew Zarian also revealed some interesting info he had found out, saying that reportedly Brock is unlikely to be at SummerSlam. He said they wanted Brock for whatever reason the plan didn't work out. I believe it was creative-wise, it wasn't fitting. Financially, they want Brock to commit to live shows. They are working it out. It's gonna happen. It's not that it's not gonna happen. It's gonna happen unless something goes tremendously terrible, which I don't think it will. I think we're going to see Brock. I just don't think he's needed for SummerSlam if they have this planned out already. If Brock calls them and says, "Hey, I want to do it," then yeah, they're going to figure it out. I don't believe Brock's going to be there. He concluded by saying that Brock is in the plans, but he's unsure what they would do with him yet. Interestingly, adding a bit of fuel to this rumour fire was Paul Heyman, who updated his Facebook profile picture to a picture of Brock Lesnar standing over Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 31. Now, maybe it's a sign of things to come. Maybe it just popped up on his memories and he was like, "Oh, I actually do look good in that one." Now, before we crack on, we just need to thank Will Always Mark Out for Ollie Landrum and Luke's favourite fan, the one, the only, the awesome Bubba, for their support on Patreon. Now, the other man who's become one of the major talking points for SummerSlam is Captain Sweatbands himself, John Cena. Now, the prevailing knowledge from multiple sources is that Cena is going to headline the August 21st show in a face-off with a dog at the table, Roman Reigns. But there could be some spanners in WWE's works for this one, as according to Variety, Cena is reportedly set to star in Argylle, a new film franchise also featuring Henry Cavill, Samuel Jackson, Bryan Cranston, Sam Rockwell, Bryce Dallas Howard, and Catherine O'Hara. Good news for John's acting career. The only slight issue is that it's reportedly set to start filming in Europe in August, which could definitely cause a clash with WWE SummerSlam plans. Because not only do you have to contend with the rigors of filming schedules and contractual obligations, the likes of which have kept The Rock from returning to WWE before, as any injury-sustained wrestling could massively impact the filming schedule to the tune of millions of dollars. But now there are also COVID-19 protocols to consider too, and the ever-evolving list of countries that you are allowed to travel to and from. It's also worth considering that if Cena does start shooting in August, then that could also remove the option of him appearing on weekly television in order to, you know, build the match. And I am sure that WWE do not care about that. So if Lesnar and Cena are potentially out of the picture for SummerSlam, then Vince is going to have to pull something out of his arse for the show. Speaking of which, the former Alberto Del Rio, Alberto El Patron, posted a teaser image to Twitter of him side-eyeing the WWE Championship saying, "One more time? ? No, thank you." El Patron was arrested in May 2020 on sexual assault and kidnapping charges. He was indicted by the grand jury in October and is currently awaiting trial. Moving on, if you tune into AEW Road Rager on Wednesday, then you would have been treated to a few things. Andrade El Idolo's in-ring debut for the company, formerly Aleister Malachi Black making a surprise appearance, and Chris Jericho rabbit punching a fan who tried to invade the ring. Now, some took this swing from Jez as signs that the entire thing could be a work, but we can confirm it isn't, with some old-fashioned detective work. Zoom and enhance. Now that is neither Enzo or Cass, so this is not a dodgy invasion spot. There you go. Solved. PW Insider's Mike Johnson did some better police work, answering a fan question by saying, "We are told it was not a work and AEW needs to make sure nothing of the sort ever happens again. If that was the venue's fault, AEW needs to address it with all future buildings, so whatever lapse took place last night is never repeated." Now obviously ring invasion is something to take quite seriously, but get too overzealous and suddenly you're pinning down a fake pastor who was just doing his job. It was a risk the recently released Aleister Black ran in his new form, the gammy-eyed Malachi Black, invading the ring at Road Rager to kick Arn Anderson's face off. Now after the show, AEW took to Twitter to officially welcome Malachi to the team. Black then also headed on to Twitch yesterday to talk about the entire experience debuting for the company and revealing just how tough it was to keep his appearance a secret. He said it was a hassle to keep under wraps. Once I found out that my contract was a tad different than usual, I just came up with this idea. I had already made the character movie and I came up with this idea and the company liked it, so we ran with it. It was all very last second. I feel like in modern day wrestling, there are few moments to make a genuine surprise and get people to look your way. For me to sneak in, not be seen, dip and dive so they wouldn't see me, that took some skill. Kudos to AEW and the entire crew. What a great operation they have there. He then noted that only 5 or 6 people total knew that he would be debuting, with Cody Rhodes and security being a few of those clued in. Hopefully Arn Anderson too. Black himself also pitched the blackout angle that was used throughout the show to lull the audience into a full sense of security and cover for his eventual reveal. He said, "I pitched that idea and said, what if we do multiple blackouts throughout the show and insinuate the technical difficulties?" Commentary did a great job getting that over and it came off great. So despite being released from WWE just last month, Black was able to debut for AEW due to a contract slip-up where his old NXT contract's 30-day non-compete clause was not updated to the standard 90-day one used across WWE's main roster, which you probably found out yesterday. And this obviously put the wind up WWE when they found out too, as revealed by Aleister Black's former sparring partner in brilliant bloody matches that were so underrated, Buddy Murphy, who was also recently given the heave-ho by Vince & Co. He said, "I received a phone call from the office the day after I was released saying that they received an email that they messed up and my contract was only 30-day non-compete, and that if I wanted to prolong it to the 90 days, that they would do that for me. I thought that was weird as I was a budget cut, but you're still willing to pay me for another 2 months. But it wasn't me." It does sound quite fishy to be a budget cut and be offered 2 months more of moolah. It's weirder still to be confused to Aleister Black. Murphy said that he also received a letter saying that the end of his non-compete clause is August 31st and he's thankful for the extra time while he sorts out his US visa. He also said that when he told the person on the phone that he'd received his letter with this date on it and that he had a 90-day non-compete clause, it turned to relief. It went from panic to relief on the voice on the phone call. Then they moved on. I think they panicked and obviously they got the name mixed up. It was someone, but it wasn't me. Maybe Buddy and Aleister got mixed up. Buddy or Black? They're both B's. Buddy and Black suggests a kind of nonsensical alphabetizing of the names of the characters, so I don't think it's that. Or maybe it is that because it's WWE.
It is the first ever WCPW champion. It's big fucking Damo. Hello, sir.
Oh my God, that part of my life that is so important to the rest of my life, you know, the summer of love, whatever you want to call it, WCPW will forever be etched in my mind, and BX itself, founding member of BX right here.